And here we are. Welcome to MOMENTOUS Live, episode 45. I know that's Gray's favorite number.
His favorite president of the United States.
This
Colt
week,
45, Prez 45, hashtag pass.
This week, we tunnel underneath Las Vegas on our electric snowbikes to escape gray-skinned humanoid robots unleashed at CES, also known as the Consumer Electronics Show. While there, we reinvent laptops, inhale automotive vaporware, and tend to our faded roots. Hello, momentous friends.
Hello.
I'm Tristan Jutra. Next to me is...
William Silver, and below me is...
I'm Tasia Custodi, and beside me is...
I'm Gray Williams. Hi, everybody.
Look at that. It's almost like we're semi-professional. Except the part about getting paid.
That's about as professional as I want to get. So, yeah, welcome to the show.
Nice. All right. So CES, Consumer Electronics Show 2022 was virtual last year, all online. This year was mostly in person, although about only half of the attendance of previous years. A number of big names pulled out pretty late in the game, which is unfortunate because by all accounts, it's actually one of the better CESs in quite a while. So we're going to get into some of the highlights of CES, the curious, the nightmarish, and more. But first, let's start with a little bit of follow-up. A couple of weeks ago, we touched on the James Webb telescope, and we were all biting our nails down to a nub as the $10 billion NASA observatory had a number of stages to go through to unfold its various parts and pieces. And a lot of people were kind of nervous, but it turns out it seemed to go pretty much okay. Momentous space correspondent Gray Williams is here to fill us in on what was the risks that people were worried about with James Webb telescope, and now that it's fully deployed, what does the future have in store?
So the fascinating thing about this telescope is this is our replacement for the Hubble Space Telescope. This is outside of our atmosphere, so it is able to pick up a great deal more detail than we can get on anything that's here on land. We're also outside of the range of Elon Musk's beautiful Starlink constellation, which is really just letting us not see things that we want to see. When you think about NASA, there are some key things that tend to happen with a lot of launches with rovers land and things like that. But usually there are redundancies. And in the case of the James Webb Space Telescope, this is one of those things where there were not redundancies. And there were, I think, something like 130 odd different pieces of this that had to perform flawlessly, which means no radio dropouts and no processor malfunctions and no instructions that have been miswritten. We've seen famously in the past where things have been done in metric and imperial, and things crash into the surface of different things. This did not happen here. So what we did see is we've seen the solar shield, which has now been deployed, which is going to keep the components of the telescope cool. And everything has gone off without a hitch. So over the course of the next 6 months, they're basically going to be booting everything up, testing all of the things, making sure that they're working. We're going to start to take in imagery that, quite frankly, is going to change how we see the cosmos. The fascinating thing about telescopes is the farther and with more detail that you can see, you're actually seeing back in time, because it takes time for light to reach us. So we're actually able to basically peer back, hundreds, thousands, millions of years the further out that we look, which gives us an idea of how our galaxy is developing and how the universe is developing. So we're going to answer a lot of questions that we've had theoretical answers to, but we're going to have actual answers to over the course of the next 2 decades that this thing is in use.
And so it launched on Christmas Day, if I recall correctly, and the final mirror segment was January 8th is when it all came online. So that's a couple of weeks of nail biting right there. Now, is this typical, or do things usually get deployed more quickly? Was this a function of the complexity of this?
It's absolutely a function of the complexity, and this is not typical because we're really in a time and a space where we are actually starting to push the envelope again of what is possible with space technology. Back in the 80s through the 90s with the reusable shuttle platform, very complex piece of equipment and a great idea, but a lot of money was put into that platform thinking that this is the direction that we were going to go, and it just really wasn't. It wasn't, I think, what NASA needed. When you take a look at things like the Soyuz capsule, which the Russians have had in operation for 40 plus years, it's still probably the most reliable thing that we have out in space. And to this day, like, one is docked at the International Space Station as an escape capsule in case something goes wrong. And looking at things and thinking, complexity is one of those things that I think can be both desirable and dangerous in space, because with the complex means that you can do more interesting things, but with something that is complex, there's so many different things that can go wrong. So this really was hedging your bets, rolling the dice, and hoping that everything would go right. But that hope was also backed by some serious science and a lot of really great work. So things were tested here on the ground, and they, assuming that things will go well, they did. And so now this is here. Are we looking at, the next time that we see something like this launched, will we have a 2-week nail biting period? Probably not, because if I had to put good money on this, the next space telescope won't be assembled here on Earth. We'll be assembling that out in space, with the point of shuttling pieces up with, less expensive ferry rockets in the shape of like, Dragon and other types of capsules, taking the pieces up there and then putting them together up there. This is actually, I think this is a bold sort of first and last step for this type of thing, and then we'll see space manufacturing come online in a big way in the next 20 years.
So apparently the sunshield structure alone had 140 release mechanisms, 70 hinge assemblies, 400 pulleys, 90 cables, and 8 deployment motors. And everything worked like by the book, which is simply remarkable. And now it's going to be heading out its orbit. It's going to be about a million miles away from Earth.
Yes, so that's basically what's called a Lagrange point, which is a point around which something will orbit. It's not necessarily orbiting a celestial body; it's orbiting around a Lagrange point. So it's basically coming in and going out and giving itself a stable orbit with which we can predict where it's going to be. We can control it, and we know where to point our radio telescopes to basically get the data back and forth from it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I like the Lagrange point from the French version of cricket.
Right.
Will, you have some follow-up, but I got to admit, I'm a little bit confused about it, because a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about some of the tech that we were looking forward to in the year ahead, you had alluded to a new Eckler mixer. But then you submitted some follow-up for today that's a new mixer type thing, but it's not Eckler at all. So what's exactly going on here?
Well, you may want to re-watch last episode, because I did mention Eckler for sure, but I also said that in terms of DJ trends, the other thing that I was looking for was a all-in-one scratch controller, that things were going to start going away from turntables and vinyl and needles, and that in the not so distant future, at the time I said I foresaw some sort of scratch DVS controller. Turns out that the not so distant future was like 4 days after I said that. So I just wanted to point out that the thing that I thought might happen like in June happened like 5 days after I said it. So at least on the live stream, I've been thinking about this for a while. But so yeah, I've actually got a little bit of intel from a source that I can't disclose, but is a person who has some journalistic access to things, and looks like we might see more about it this week. Looks like there's probably going to be 2 versions of it. It's probably the one we're looking at is called the Rev 7.
It's the Pioneer DDJ Rev 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there will be a Pioneer DDJ Rev 1. Won't get clear information from my source on the capabilities. Might have revolving jog type wheels. the actual platters on the Rev 7 really look like turntable platters with the dots, and they're metal. Whereas the Rev 1 will be more plastic based with sort of the bubbles and the things that we expect from jog wheels. And so I think that's supposed to be kind of a bridge controller, the Rev 1, for people maybe who are wanting to get more into scratching. Or it could also be just taking the hardware and demotorizing it and making it for a wider audience at a cheaper price point. So we'll see what they release, later this week. But that's my little bit of insider information. I was also that I was going to lose my shit, quote unquote, excuse the language, and that I should mortgage the house.
Like Tasia now? With the language? Come on.
And apparently I have to mortgage my house. So
perfect.
Those are the two other things that my source said to me.
It's interesting because like right now sitting over there, I've got a Tractor S4 Mark III, which has been out for 3 years, which has got motorized jog dials. It's not all in one, but it does run off an iPad, which you're kind of getting down to the point of like, that's essentially a big USB stick with a screen. So like looking at this, that is $1,200 Canadian. And it's going to be interesting to see where Pioneer goes with this, because I would presume this is Rekordbox compatible. And so like Tractor has their Tractor DVS system as well, which you can use with this. So I'm curious to see, because I haven't done any scratching. And to be honest, the reason I bought the S4 was to have the 4 channels, because there's the S3 in between the S2 and the S4. And it does the 4 channels, but I figured why not splurge for the motorized jog dials? So this is a space where there are, controllers that are in that space, but not an all-in-one. So pretty exciting to see.
And just as another prediction, just because I'm feeling drunk with power after last week, long term, I think the industry needs to go to getting away from computers.
Yes.
It needs to go to being built in, so that I put a USB drive into your Tractor controller or to the Pioneer DDJ, and I don't need to bring a laptop around with me, which might also have all my passwords and my Gmail and everything else hooked up to it, that
Ding.
I just bring the controller with me and I don't need a laptop. So
looks like you're getting a FaceTime call on your controller.
Yeah.
Also, you got to love the dynamic that laptops has introduced to both DJing and live performances, especially in electronic music, where, you used to have guys with stacks of keyboards and jumping around. We saw BT probably 10, 15 years ago at Graceland. Amazing show, even though a lot of it is pre-sequenced. He played some stuff live on keyboards. Then we saw him a few years later at The Rage, also here in Vancouver. Laptop. That's what he's doing the whole time.
Yeah.
Like just way to suck all the energy out of a live performance. So yeah, I agree. Anything to get laptops. So Tasia, what are you looking for in a live DJ turntable / scratch setup nowadays?
Yeah, every single thing that they said sounds like exactly what I would need.
So like counterpoint here though is with my Oculus Quest 2, I also have Tribe XR, which you put the headset on, you grab the handheld controllers. There is no deck at all. The deck is actually, it's a Pioneer set of CDJs, and I believe it's a Pioneer mixer, but it doesn't exist. You're literally just playing that completely virtually. So that's gone 100% in the opposite direction. It's nothing but a computer on your face, but you can DJ with it.
But by the way, Gray, I was thinking of you earlier this week. There are some fantastic Instagram videos of people using VR and like jumping into their TV screens and things like this. Just, I'll have to send one to you, but they're just truly epic. I guess everyone got them for a Christmas present and then had to buy new TVs and buy wheelchairs and canes afterwards.
So here's the thing. I've actually got, so behind this is a green screen, but when it's not here, this is actually a rather large space, which, Ray and I use as a dance studio, as an exercise space. There are no TVs in it. Now the computer's over here, but I actually face away from it. What I don't understand is why people think that their VR space has to be anywhere near their television. It doesn't, especially with the standalone system like the Quest. Put yourself in a padded room, right? I can draw a boundary on the ground with the Guardian, and if I get close to getting out of that, if I step out of it, it actually takes the game away and shows me the real world. Now, that's not to say that I haven't punched the glass at least once already. I have. But yeah, I learned to draw the Guardian smaller after that. But I don't understand people that don't use the wrist wraps and are near expensive things.
The other great one is animals. There's some great ones of animals attacking people with VR headsets on because they don't know what's going on. So the cat will like leap at the person, or the dog will like freak out and run away and stuff like that.
Stormy inherently gets it, but we've actually got a baby gate for the dog because he is delightfully inquisitive, and I really don't want to play punt the poodle. So
It just, all I can say is it thrills me to no end that Gray has finally gone full Zuckerberg into the metaverse. Anyway, moving.
You can actually separate your Facebook account from your Oculus account.
Yes.
So I've gone half Zuckerberg. I've just gone Berg, no Zuck.
Zuckerberg.
Just
That's right.
Zuck, no Berg.
Yeah. Well, as long as their stock starts paying dividends, we'll be fine.
I'm looking through SideQuest. We're fine.
Tasia, do you have any follow-up for us? There's nothing in the rundown, but now that we've burned a quarter of the show before getting into CES, like, might as well keep this train rolling.
No, I'm ready to talk CES nonsense.
Okay. After one more bit of follow-up from me, 2 weeks ago, we talked about our favorite, sorry for flipping off the British. 2 weeks ago, we talked about some of our favorite tech gifts and among other things. And I had neglected to bring mine to the show to be able to show off. And I didn't want to talk about it because it required a proper reveal. And I'm going to reveal it right now. And this is courtesy of a certain Will Silver. This is my hoodie, custom-made hoodie, courtesy of good friend and fellow momentous person.
Will,
but there's more.
Wait for it.
There's more.
Where are all of ours?
There's more.
1995.
Yeah.
And a t-shirt underneath that.
Okay, where do I sign up?
Love it.
So now I just have to sleep in them all the time.
I'm glad you liked them.
Are ours in the mail or?
We're actually the
Yes, with your check.
Momentous.tv/store.
Coming soon, yes.
The mail here is really slow, so maybe that's why I didn't get it yet.
I think
That's
so.
totally it.
Okay.
Yeah, the checks are coming too, so they all come probably around the same time. So thank you, Will. That was truly.
You're welcome. I'm glad you love it.
All right, moving on to CES. Oh yeah, so next time we go to CES, because can you believe it's been 7 years since the four of us
Guys,
went to
next year
CES
is
together?
our year.
I really want to go.
We'll see.
Next year is our year.
Yeah. All right, we got to get
I
that
have
paid.
said this since March of 2020. Next year, baby, it's my year.
Yeah, and now it's what, March 724, 2020?
Yep. AC after COVID? I don't know.
Hey, NAM got moved to June. You tell me there's a chance.
There you go. All right, so let's get to CES 2022. Sony brings the world's first QD OLED TV to CES 2022. What is QD OLED? Well, quantum dot. So quantum dot, which has been featured in some LED, backlit LCD panels, is now making its way to OLED television, which will merge the impressive color and brightness characteristics of quantum dots with the perfect blacks and infinite contrast offered by OLED's self-illuminating pixels. So this is part of the Sony Master Series A95K. So boosting color brightness up to 200%, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now it's interesting because Sony, has been pretty low key when it comes to OLED. Some home theater enthusiasts have been checking out some of the Sony sets, but Sony actually uses Samsung panels. LG has actually been pretty dominant in this space with Samsung being in there. And, Sony is still a thing, but they're, again, using the same Samsung panels. Samsung hasn't introduced quantum dot OLED TVs yet, but the special sauce that the panel makers bring, or the to the actual raw panels that they get from the manufacturers, such as LG and Samsung, is their processing and all the great stuff to make the OLEDs look even better. So, featuring HDMI 2.1, whatever that means for those people paying attention. An interesting looking sort of stand, a little different than we've come to see from panels. Remotes. I don't know, still uses original remotes. Anyhow, anyone here in the market for a TV this year? I'm still rocking plasmas all over the place because I like to warm my home. Tasia, how are you doing in the TV department? Are you plasma, LCD, LED backlit LCD, or are you on the OLED train yet?
No, we actually have a Sony as well. We got it, geez, 3 or 4 Black Fridays ago. I don't know what time is, so that could be a total lie. But it was a few years ago. And honestly, when we first got it, I was like, because Brett had original, like I call them original, like plasma TVs in the house, and trying to convince him to get rid of a plasma was huge because he just loved it so much. But anyway, we upgraded, and at the time we really liked it because we would watch like nature shows, and if you kind of just did this, you would feel like you're in the jungle with the monkey. Like it was crazy. But now, like then you get used to it and you're like, oh, okay. I mean, it's fine.
I think Gray has a solution for it if you want to feel like you're in the jungle.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think probably within the next, I don't know, this year, Black Friday might be a bit early, but maybe by the next year, I think we're going to upgrade again. I'll repurpose this to repurpose. I'll use it in another spot, but I'm more annoyed with the smart functionalities of it than anything. Like, the quality's fine. I'm just getting picky about certain restarting and such, and it's frustrating. I just want a Netflix, okay?
So what would you be looking for in a TV when you do get close to pulling the trigger?
Honestly, we're not fancy because I feel like any of these other TVs. Do you remember 7 years ago and further back when we would go to CES and we would see all the 8Ks and like the 16K and it was all this nonsense, and you're like, cool, but like I'm not going to see shows shot in 16K. Like that's not.
Yeah.
So to
There's
me,
no media
it doesn't.
that size.
They've even really started downplaying 8K at this point because it's just there's no content.
Right. And so it's like besides a lot of Netflix shows that are shot in 8K, they're still given to us in 4K at most. So it's like, to me, I honestly, the OLEDs I think are probably going to be the next way I go. But other than that, I'm really not picky. You could spout off whatever you want about the color of this and the lumens of that. And I'm like, girl, please, if it looks crisp, it looks good.
How about a detachable webcam on top? Would that do it for you?
Absolutely not.
Bye-bye.
No.
Well, that's one of the things that Sony is offering us, just to differentiate and put you over the top.
Yeah, the thing with that model that actually threw me is the stand, because I'm not really sure what look they're going for with it, if they're trying to make it seem like it doesn't have a stand and it's just like a thing. Like, I don't want it. I don't know. Like, I guess I wouldn't use it with the stand anyway, assuming that's detachable.
A lot of people are. I think they're assuming a lot of people are mounting them on the walls anyhow.
Yeah, but I have a lot of friends that like refuse to do wall mount, and they are stand people, and I don't think that would fly because, like, from a decorative standpoint, like if you're sitting at the same level and then like you have this stand at that kind of your lower eye level, it's weird. You want it raised a little bit.
Perfect for cats to jump up on. Hanging that with the stand on.
You could always go back in time when it was in vogue for people to mount their flat panel TVs above their fireplaces, and then you could watch shows like this.
Oh, every design show. I'm going to sidebar for a hot minute. Every design show where people do that, it is an absolute atrocity. I don't know who wants to sit like this. This is not comfortable. Your television should be like your artwork, where it's kind of eye level, like it's kind of, how would normal people want to view? Who wants to sit like this? Is not relaxing.
You just have to learn to slouch more.
Oh, anyway, that's my sidebar on that. Stop it, people. Stop it.
Gotcha. Well, if you're not in the market quite yet for a new TV, how about a Samsung Odyssey Arc curved monitor? It's its largest yet. It's a 55-inch 4K 16:9 monitor, which, wait for it, one of its key features is it can be tilted sideways. Curved monitor tilted sideways. So you've seen curved monitors before. Lots of gamers like to use them. For years, those of us who've worked in consumer electronics have recommended against curved monitors for television because of the things that it does to light and reflections and whatnot. But the whole idea with the Samsung Odyssey Arc here and being able to turn it sideways is that you can lean back in your chair and do stuff that looks like this.
Finally, at last, I can do stuff that
Wow.
looks like that.
Really
Problem
solved
looking
my
for a
problem.
solution.
You know what? I hate to be the VR guy, but this really does look like the stopgap it's going to get forgotten as we get HMDs that actually do this stuff. Because if I want to do this, I'm going to throw on my headset, use either AirPlay or virtual desktop, and do that instead. Who? What? Where? When?
Who?
Samsung.
Yeah.
Come on.
A
But
bunch of people
what if you
at my
put three of
work-
them together? Yeah, go ahead, Will.
A bunch of people at my work have 32-inch curved monitors. It seems to be a thing that was, and those are huge. Like, I don't know how they use them. I have a 27-inch when I'm actually at work. I'm working at home now, but yeah, the 32 inches. I couldn't imagine. Was this 55 inches?
55.
Yeah. So I would actually benefit from a curved monitor here because I've got the MacBook over here, and you guys are currently sitting on top of a 34-inch flat. Every once in a while, I'm sitting here, and I would love actually for this to wrap around this way. That would be useful. But 55 up and over, yeah. I feel
Well, you
like
can put it in landscape as well too. So no
even
worries
then-
there. You've got options. That's
But
the
here's
point.
the thing, 3 inches to the left of this monitor right now. Directly to the right, I've got the MacBook. There's a MacBook in the way, and then there is.
Yeah.
Stay with me on this. An Epson all-in-one, right there. I don't.
Yeah.
And again, maybe it's just because I live in a Vancouver condo, which
No.
doubles as a shoebox at night. But
Who's got the room?
and how much is this thing?
I'm not sure. The rest is TBD, so no pricing on this yet. But I could see it being under $2,000. I mean, 55K panels, 55-inch panels are cheap. It's just a question: what's the premium for the curvedness and the rotation? I'm not sure what the quality is. This could be vaporware for all we know, like depending on the reaction.
Let's throw this out to Samsung. You want to send one to us? We'll take a look at it. But for right now, I vote Momentus.
No.
No Mentos.
Agreed.
There we go. Wow.
There you go.
Shots
I
fired.
agree.
But either way, whether it's ultra wide curved panels, be it landscape or portrait, or a freaking headset, these electronics companies are going to do in our necks one way or the other.
Agreed.
And it's a conspiracy with Big Cairo. I know it.
Big Cairo, like Egypt.
Yes, exactly.
It's a pyramid scheme all the way down.
Oh, I see what you did there. Next up then, well, how about a new laptop? I know that all y'all just got MacBook Pros this past year, but if anyone's looking for a Windows laptop, Dell has introduced the XPS 13 Plus, which is going to be serving alongside the existing and very well regarded XPS 13, but they did a couple of interesting things, and some people are calling them risky. Some of the design details include touch bar / not a touch bar. So unlike, I don't know if you can see on here, I don't know if they're capacitant buttons or what, but as far as we can tell, non-customizable touch bar buttons. But basically, let's take everything that we loved about actual buttons and remove that, and take everything that we loved, for those who did love the Mac touch bars, and remove that as well. So you kind of get halfway in between and satisfy no one none of the time. So that's one thing. But then the other thing they did is removed the borders to the touchpad. So you've got to guess now, ultimately, where the touchpad is. You see there are no lines on there. And, muscle memory is a thing, but it's just they're going for the sleekest possible lines, both with their not touch bar and the invisible touchpad, so to speak. Dell's calling it a zero lattice keyboard as well. So very, very sleek keyboard with no gaps between the keys. And
edge to edge.
Edge to edge. So just, eliminating all wasted space. So as a design exercise, it's kind of interesting. It'll be interesting, but I guess the jury is still out on what actual people, when they get them in their hands, how they will feel about them. This is going to be $1,200 US.
Can we say thumbs up to the edge-to-edge keyboard? That's cool. Bigger size keyboard's great, but it's got a millimeter of travel. I think we've all done the butterfly keyboard with Apple. I look forward to the recall on this.
Well, will that keyboard be thrown off by crumbs or dust is the question.
Wow.
Sometimes designers / the people marketing this stuff, like, function needs to be first when you're talking about something like a laptop.
Somewhere Johnny Ive is like, my feelings.
I wish I thought of that.
Oh well, I'll go dry my eyes with this money. But you're right, though. You're absolutely right. And this does, Will said it earlier, right? Problem in search of a solution.
All right. Well, speaking of a problem in search of a solution, how about a gigantic 17-inch laptop from Lenovo, the ThinkBook Plus Gen 3, that has a tablet built into the lower part alongside the keyboard. So, it's a 17-inch laptop with a built-in 8-inch full-color secondary LCD display located to the right of the tablet, debuting in May for $13.99 US, and up from there. The main display is a 21:10 aspect ratio and runs at 120 hertz. And the touch-enabled secondary screen displays at 800 by 1200 pixels. So they're meant to work in tandem with one another. Some people on the Mac side of things you think about how they use iPads in like sidecar mode, but this is something where it's just built right in. Will, being design guy on occasion, if this even wouldn't convince you to switch to Windows, would you want to see this kind of thing in a Mac someday, even though it probably would never happen?
No, I mean, just buy a Zenbook or something if you're going to do that. I don't know. And
but look at the giant calculator you can have right there.
A giant calculator.
Can I quick show of hands? Do we have any Southpaws on the MOMENTOUS podcast? Anybody left-handed?
No.
Most of my artist friends are left-handed. Why is this thing on the right? I would say the vast majority of my artist friends are left-handed.
There may very well be a version that is on the right. I don't know if you recall the Macintosh Portable back in the day, Apple's original portable computer, luggable as they referred to it. It had a trackball section on the right-hand side, but you could actually move it over to you could open up the machine and then swap the keyboard and the trackball around so that you could have the trackball on the left. So it doesn't look like that's in the cards here, and I don't see any information about versions that might have the tablet on the left side. But that's a good point. Those creative types and their left-handedness. Yeah. I mean, if only we could tell from their genetics before they're born, we could take care of that problem.
And to be clear, this is only to work with this. It doesn't detach and become its own portable tablet.
Correct.
Useless then.
The other thing is there is an app that you can get for tablets called AstroPad. And it basically does that, and it's just an app that you have installed in your tablet, and you can use a pen to draw it like a Cintiq. So, and it doesn't have to be installed in your computer.
Built into your keyboard?
Tristan mentioned it, sidecar, right? Like you can still use the tablet as a drawing tablet.
But this is convergence in full effect here. You have everything in one. You don't have to pack another tablet or what if you forget it?
This is CES.
But then I'm lugging around.
Exactly.
I'm lugging around a 17-inch laptop. So me forgetting the tablet is a moot point because I can't just detach the tablet.
Let's not confuse things with common sense. Okay, well, it's such a tough crowd. How about this? How about an Asus Zenbook 17 Fold, which has, again, a massive 17-inch display, but it's foldable. Huh?
You already know how I feel about the foldable.
But just look at it. You can set it up like, and have a detachable keyboard there. You could bend it, and then you could use an on-screen keyboard. You could use it just like a full-on tablet.
Okay, they got me at the
boy.
detachable keyboard where it can just stand upright like that, because if you're traveling or if whatever and you want to watch a little Netflix and you don't want to, like, you can just prop it up and feel like you're not on a tiny little iPad, but still the fold, that's where they lost me, on the fold. I'm not a fold person.
The folds are coming for you. Just wait till Apple releases a foldable phone, then you'll be all in on the fold.
You know what? I saw
I'll
the
eat my word.
Samsung. I saw the Samsung clamshell one today, and I didn't hate it immediately. So that's a massive upgrade from last year. But I still looked at it and like, oh, cool. The Game Boy Advance has become a phone. Great.
And it's so thick. And it's so thick in your pocket, It's like jamming a brick in there.
Yeah. Oh, imagine a 17-inch foldable laptop in your pocket.
Right.
So
I wear cargo pants.
So this is powered by 12th gen Intel processor with 16 gig of RAM and 1 terabyte of SSD storage, Wi-Fi 6 and a 75 watt-hour battery, about 3 3/4 pounds, not counting the Bluetooth keyboard. And by comparison, a 16-inch MacBook Pro is 4.8 pounds with only a 16-inch screen as opposed to a 17-inch. So again, it's interesting to see the experimentation with the form factors here. Which of these actually make it to market remains to be seen, but you got to try these things, right? Throw spaghetti against the wall, and sometimes people will go for them. The market will decide. You guys don't seem sold.
No.
We just
I thought you were
bought
going to say sometimes you throw spaghetti against the wall and you get lasagna.
Just throw spaghetti against the wall, and all you got to do now is clean the spaghetti off.
Exactly. Now you got
it. Wall spaghetti.
Well, luckily with a 17-inch foldable screen, you can just like scrape it off the wall and then fold it up and throw it into the ocean.
Oh, it's like a calzone. It's great. Fantastic. Let's talk cars.
Let's talk cars instead. How about a 2024 Silverado EV putting the Ford F-150 Lightning on notice? So it was just a matter of time before Chevy got into the game here. I've got a 5'11" box, and it's a truck with a short box that's an EV, and they're kind of pushing the same buttons as the Ford F-150 Lightning. Tasia, you are, and also the other thing is it's kind of built on the same platform as the 2022 Hummer EV pickup. But Tasia, as the official Momentous Chevrolet correspondent, by way of Corvette, do you think this is the kind of thing that truck people are looking for? Because we had pretty good things to say about the Ford F-150 Lightning. There was a lot of things that they seem to think through pretty well there for its target audience. How does this one look to you? And do you think one might be superior to the other?
Well, I like the look of this. My issue, I think I've told you guys before with electric and the trucks, love the concept of it, but it's the lack in the towing capacity when you get into fully electric vehicles. So that's my biggest, I think oh God, it's sexy inside too. I think the biggest issue, like for, when you're thinking in terms of like truck owners and what like if you were a truck owner and you were going to upgrade your truck, would you get this? No, because most people that are truck owners want it, number one, because it can tow stuff and haul stuff. Number two, because it sounds so great with their diesel, climate.
And three, they're a menace on the road, so you need that. I mean, this probably can fulfill that angle.
Yeah. So I mean, conceptually, I always really love this type of stuff, and I like to see where we're going with the technology in terms of electric vehicles, but it's a hard sell, I think. Like, I'm curious to see what their target market is on it for any of these electric truck, manufacturers, because they're kind of in this middle ground of like people that maybe want to be able to move the odd thing, but maybe they don't need to really tow, but maybe they don't want a little car anymore because they have a family. I just don't really know what the exact market
Getting some
is.
serious Honda Ridgeline vibes out of the shape of this as well.
Yeah. Ged had a great line, and I can't remember what it was. It was something like aspirational truck owners. It's like they they are never going to use the functionality, but they want to think that they can, or
But
that
will they use the
they have the ability.
functionality?
Oh, nice. Deep.
Ah,
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Like, did they say what what a towing capacity of this would be?
Well, I
Are you
know
gonna
on the
Someone
Rivian
else can
one,
look
we
it up. I'm
have to
showing
do
pretty
it
pictures.
solid. Like,
Yeah,
it's-
because
yeah.
even the other thing with the short cab, it's just kind of like traditional truck owners are not going to have it. You can't even you can haul a 2x4.
Oh, the short the bed, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not big enough on the inside to fit a soccer team either. So
I'm
So-
still stuck on the Rivian. Like I've actually put money in for one, so cancel my Cybertruck order.
Hmm.
Yeah. Nope, no Blade Runner for me.
oh, so no one's going to be putting in a pre-order for the Chevy Silverado EV. I take it here.
I don't think we've got a whole lot of Ford Chevy rivalry going on in this podcast. I think
No,
we're,
we
we're
got to get back in here
Yeah.
to stick up for Ford.
He's a Ford guy. If I was going to buy one, I would buy the F-150. Quite frankly, I've seen a bunch of stuff in the last little while, just some questionable things with Chevy. The U-bolts on some of their trucks, like a decade in. I saw a thing on Reddit the other day where it's just, murder. And I mean, we're not necessarily in a rough climate condition here, but some serious repair issues that were happening with those. So I'd pass. If I had to pick one, I'd be a Ford guy, but I'm going Rivian. That's I'm kind of stoked. It's gonna be like 2023, 2024 before I get it, but that will be my truck.
So for this Silverado, we're looking at a 400-mile range, which isn't too shabby. But to Tasia's question about towing, 1,300 pounds of payload, so in the bed, 10,000 pounds of towing. Is that enough for you, Tasia?
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, that's solid.
That's really good. Because a lot of the even hybrids are 3,500, and it's like, bitch, I can't tow even a tiny home with that. 3,500. That's I eat like Christmas dinner. Get out of here.
That's my tent as I'm camping.
Yeah. 10,000 is pretty good. Really?
Yeah.
So
So
the
they got those four
F-150
motors,
Lightning.
right? Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say they've got those four motors. It's got tons of torque, right? So yeah, she's
Very torquey. F-150 Lightning is rated for 2,000 pounds of payload and again 10,000 pounds of
Okay.
towing. The commercial work truck variants of the Silverado will be rated for 1,200 pounds of payload and 8,000 pounds of towing. So I'm not sure why it's less there. Maybe because they're commercial, they have a more stringent regulations are what they can make in the claims. Not sure. They're really touting the best-in-class drag coefficient as well. So as aerodynamic as a pickup truck can possibly be, I suppose. So again, it's early days for pickup trucks. We've got F-150 Lightning, we've got Rivian, Cybertruck, if and when it ever ships. So it's getting serious. You've got 9 years in some jurisdictions before no more internal combustion engines. And at least with this one, the most important thing, with our green economy, they're big enough to fit certain size solar panels in the back. There you are.
Wow. Guys, do you know what I think we should do? When these trucks are actually legit on the market, we need to test them against each other for a week or two period where we tow stuff and
Tiny
see,
homes?
seriously, see how long, what's the charge I get now? If I say you can go however many miles on a single charge, but then if you're towing this amount of weight, how far did I get on that charge? And we could compare.
Why don't we do a trip across Vancouver Island, right? We'll start off, right down in the southwest. We'll go up to Tofino over 2 weeks, a little bit of camping.
Gorge.
I'll start by
But we're camping in the tiny home, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or you just lie
I
down in
need
the
a
bed of the truck
toilet.
and pull the
Yeah.
cover over. You can use the
I got
bed of
you.
the truck as a toilet as well. It's a giant toilet.
I need a roof.
That's what the drain is for. Anyway, let's move right along.
You know what this new Chevy Silverado EV is missing, however, is the ability to change its mood.
I want this.
So we've got this new concept of the BMW iX Flow. They're calling it a color changing concept vehicles, but of course the actually guys jumped in and said, well, actually black and white aren't colors, they're tones. So yeah, using, I mean, they're not wrong, but using e-ink technology, the same kind of thing that powers Kindle screens, as well as other e-readers. They got hundreds and hundreds of tiny polygon panels on here so that you could change from light to dark. So potential uses for this. Hey, if it's really sunny out, how about not a black car or dark gray car, have a white car instead. And although tests have shown that it doesn't make a ton of difference, the color of your car, for how much heat actually gets in, but the idea is nice. If nothing else,
like if you commit a crime in the black car, then you just change it to the white car.
The Grand Theft Auto protocol. Hit a button, your stars go away. Brilliant.
And think about how many accidents you can cause by changing the color while you're driving down the highway.
Yep. I got a lot of questions.
People get distracting. I mean, it's still not going to fix the problem with BMW's front ends. They don't even get me started on what they've done to the kidney grills, but
I love this. I'm not going to lie to you. I think this is a fantastic feature. I would pay more for this in my next vehicle. I think this is neat. Does it serve any discernible actual purpose other than, oh my God, check out my color changing car? All right. Do you remember there was a Hugh Jackman movie, John Travolta, Swordfish, Operation Swordfish, Password Swordfish?
Oh, yes, with Hugh Jackman as a very credible hacker.
Right. The Hugh Jackman.
Toughest hacker you ever met.
Yes. And so like in that, they had, was it TR6, something like that, but it had the color changing paint as it drove by. And I always thought that was so sexy. Just the way the light hit it. I love this. This is great. I will take one, wrap it up.
Okay, but Gray.
Yes.
One of the
my name, issues, like, come on.
How do you register the car? Do you register as a white car? Is it a black car? Is it mono? I just don't see, this is why this remains a concept car. This is not in production.
Yep.
They have no plans to put it into production. It was kind of this was like one of the top two things that, everybody's talking about at CES this year. But for me, beyond the cool of it all, the initial cool, because it's cool, that's kind of where it ended for me, was I don't get it. I don't get how it would be registered on the road, first of all. I don't get, what if a panel goes out? What do? Do you got to replace
how
the
feasible
whole
is
thing?
it?
How does it last?
How expensive is it?
In inclement weather? How expensive is it?
Great
I
question.
get a lot of questions.
Well, and here's the thing, my Kindle is actually probably one of the least expensive e-readers on the market. So I would say from a paint perspective, this is probably not too bad. Here's the thing, it gets dented, it gets scratched, it gets dinged. Fascinating to see what they want to do with that.
Yes.
I'm very, very curious. As far as registering it, when we're looking at this on the market right now, you got your license plate, that registers your vehicle. If the cops are on the lookout for your vehicle, you're one of the few color changing cars on the road. They can probably look at it and go, hey, that's one of those weird color changing BMWs. Get them. But here's the thing, you also see folks out now, we've got gender fluid. This car is color fluid. It's fantastic. Great. That's how we're going to register it.
That's how they should have marketed it.
Right? What color are you? Today I'm a white car. Tomorrow I'm a black car.
Just have a box that says I choose not to answer when it says color.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, a vehicle like this is also going to have a 5G LTE radio and GPS built in, and it'll have an immobilizer that they can shut you down from a distance. So let's not worry about that, right? Just give me my color changing car.
Gray, you're gonna be so mad when you get a dent in it, and now there's a short circuit, and you're just missing a square panel.
My Mini right now has a dent in the hood where the garage door to our condo came down on it and kept going. It's got a small scratch on the side where I misunderestimated the distance to a concrete pillar. So I'm right with you. I was heartbroken when those things happened. So I'm looking forward to my much maligned color changing car when I do damage it. But give me the chance.
Key question: how much of a premium would you pay on top of, say, the regular, iX or whatever this model is going to be, for said feature?
At least for delivery inspection, whatever they cost, really, I'll pay that. Tell you what.
So cover into the PDI.
Knock off the PDI. I'll pay for the panels. We're negotiating here, right?
It tells me it's not going to be, but $595 to $795. I think I'm looking at least $2,500 for this.
I was going to say this is probably $2,500 to $3,000. And to be honest, if I'm in the market for that kind of BMW, take my money. Take
Yeah.
it. Take it.
Yeah.
You know what I'll do? I'll not buy the quantum dot television, and I'll buy this instead.
We need a quantum dot BMW. Boom.
There you go.
Or something, because, this is never going to ship anyhow. Wah, wah.
Oh.
Oh, vaporware now in vehicles. So speaking of which, Sony Mobility, believe it or not, there's a thing called Sony Mobility, which has been around for a few years. They've revealed another concept car, a conceptual EV Vision S SUV. They teased a sedan previous year, I believe, as people may recall. CS is, although largely about TVs and other consumer electronics, is quite is to a large extent also a bit of a car show as well. They've gotten the entire North Hall is dedicated to automotive and automotive accessories. So Sony decided to take the opportunity to tease the Vision S 02 or 02, the follow-up to the Vision S 01 sedan, which was at CS 2020. The idea here that it's not only an electric car, but it's going to be fully autonomous when hell freezes over. So, like all the other ones, who wants a Sony car? Is it going to beat Apple to the market? Everyone's been saying this for years and years. Project Titan, Apple car someday.
No.
Didn't the Apple car fall apart?
It's fallen apart a couple of times. They keep reworking it, and is it going to be hardware? Is it just going to be software? Maybe it's going to be hardware again.
Will use USB-C.
Exactly. I think it's going to be portless.
When you see these concept cars and they just show all screens and it looks so sexy in the interior, and it's like, who's going to concentrate driving like that? You're going to be looking at all the screens.
You don't need to concentrate, TJ. It's autonomous.
Right.
If it gets to level 5, you can actually legally nap.
Until everybody else on the road, I love autonomous vehicles, love the idea behind it. Until everybody else on the road is in one too,
yeah,
and they all have the same emergency systems, every single car should not have these screens because people are already distracted.
Until it's Demolition Man, where everyone is just going on rails, then it's not a great idea.
Mm-hmm. Will, what do you think of this from a design perspective?
I think it's very interesting from a design perspective. I think the screen's kind of screen heavy. They're not kind of elegantly placed or anything, but I think the lines and some of the badge on the front and some of those things are quite well integrated.
Yeah, we're getting some Polestar energy off of the logo there, and the front end, a little bit Porsche, some of the newer Porsche designs as well. So yeah, it's who knows when this will ever see the light of day. But again, it's interesting to see non-traditional automakers, throwing their hat in the ring, and if nothing else, it might inspire others. They could, just throw the towel in, but Sony hasn't been super relevant or leading many categories for a long time now, and can they leapfrog those sorts of problems by getting in on this market, given that others like Google have been testing and developing and testing autonomous cars for a long time. Apple's been designing autonomous systems and testing their systems on modified Lexuses, I think, in and around Silicon Valley. So this is a huge opportunity for the players, the non-traditional car automakers or like consumer electronics makers to get in on this while the other automakers are scrambling. So these opportunities don't come around that often. So it's because there's the twofold change, that to EV and that to autonomy. And autonomy is obviously further off, where I think we're still looking at least 10 years off for level 4, let alone level 5. Some people are thinking it could be 30 to 50 years off for level 5, but we'll see. Sometimes we tend to overestimate the things that how quickly things happen in the short term, and sometimes we underestimate the changes that happen in the longer term as well. But I like the look of it.
I just remember 7 years ago when we were all together, 2 cars, I think they were from the same year, that stuck out to me. One was the BMW. Tristan, I was with you. Remember, we were outside in a tent, and it had the lights that would shine in the front, and also to the side for animals if something was going to like run across, you know, like a dark street. And then what it would also do is, remember, put out like a crosswalk. So like if a person was walking or something, that was 7 years ago. And like
Yep.
that is still not just something as simple, you know, we call it simple, but you know, as that is still not. And then on the interior floor, there was a car, I can't remember the manufacturer, that had a 4-door, but the doors opened like this. So like, you know, on either end. So it opened out like this. And it was like the pod inside. Where
the Mercedes-Benz Concept 2030.
That's what it was. And the screens were like all around the side, right? Like they weren't really screens. It was kind of, the interior paneling were kind of like screens. You know, stuff like that is just like, where?
They've got 8 years. Come on, Mercedes. You can, we believe in you.
So
we got
this
your
stuff
names.
is just, I know. So this is like, I feel like this car, it looks like Sony just went, like the 2 screens in the back, like it was just like, we're just gonna stick some screens back there because like the future is screens. Like it's just like there's no.
That's what I mean. Like not elegant, just like.
Yeah. So like, why? I wonder how much they spend on these concepts that never go anywhere, and how do we get some of that money?
Well, not to be outdone, Hyundai showed off a number of their concepts, featuring a future where people and products travel in cute modular pods. So they have a number of different types of vehicles that mostly use this similar platform known as the plug and drive module, or PND, that integrates 360-degree steering, electric motors and brakes, 5.5-inch wheels with airless tires. So meanwhile, you know, people are putting like 21-inch rims on their other cars, and these ones is 5.5-inch. But so you can have like cargo type devices and these little human transporters as well. So how would you like to
oh my god,
travel the streets of South Korea in a little pod?
This is hilarious.
I'd do it.
Good.
Like honestly, I think this is great. You know, this is kind of, we're hitting the sort of middle ground between Uber and public transit. And I'd actually love to see the city of Vancouver invest in stuff like this, where perhaps you could pay premium above what you would pay for transit, but less than what you pay for Uber, and just basically have one of these things. You schedule a time, it pulls up, you hop in this thing, it takes you where you need to go, and you've just got these things like busy bees all around the place. This would be a great days like today, you know, when it is 8 degrees centigrade and just moist outside. I've got a waterproof jacket. That's a lie. And so I came home today and I was absolutely soaked. I took an Uber actually halfway home because I was just too drenched, and being able to like hit a button, have this thing come along, not have a human being be responsible for it, not have an internal combustion engine on top of it, and just get in, get to where I want to go, get out. Yeah, I'm all over it.
And if only if we could combine these with the concept we reviewed a few weeks ago, the suicide pod. So not only could you hop in, be extinguished, it could take you to where you'll be disposed of.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Right? Just quick and
Or a terrifying
was that a
robot
Boston
dog.
Dynamics dog?
It's similar.
Was...
well, actually, Hyundai bought Boston Dynamics, so I think they're crossing the streams now.
There we go. Speaking of which, I saw Ghostbusters Afterlife. Fantastic if you haven't seen it.
Oh, I want to see it.
It's so good. It's so good.
You got to manage expectations. Easy now.
You know what? It is the female-led Ghostbusters I was looking for. Well done, Jason Raven.
All right. So how about, if you're not interested in any of these car or robotic pod concepts, how about an electric snow bike?
Yes.
Right?
Especially
Moon bike.
Will just says yes. I'm in.
I'm because usually Will's just like, no.
No.
So this is basically an electric moped on a track and ski.
Yeah. Dystopian nuclear winter. This is the way to get around.
It actually looks super fun.
Yeah.
It's like the last week in Vancouver was the dystopian.
Yep. I would take one for sure.
In sort of encourage you to do a bit more winter camping.
Yeah.
It's like a snowmobile and a sled combination.
Yeah.
Starting MSRP is $8,500 US. Range doubling auxiliary battery costs $1,800 US, and a fast charger runs $400.
Okay. So you could buy a
color
car.
options, white and black/red.
What's PDI on it?
No idea. Consult your local dealer.
500 to 790. Don't worry. They'll give you the oil undercarriage of the grape. You love
It's
it.
only 200 pounds and tops out at 26 miles per hour. Honestly, that looks like a blast. I mean, I'm not. I can't tell you the last time I went on a mountain to do wintry type things. I get enough winter activity shoveling our hill and our driveway and our sidewalk and all that kind of stuff. But I got to say, this looks like a
You practically live on a mountain, TJ.
blast.
Do you think you could put like a shovel on the front of this thing and maybe get your driveway done faster?
Heck
There we go.
yeah.
Ah, there you
Yeah,
go.
that's it right there. That's the killer app.
Yep.
Okay, saving the best for not quite last, but we're getting there. Amica the humanoid apparently stole the show at CES 2022, featuring
Love her.
gray skin to get us away from the uncanny valley. You know, we gotta have the skin being gray, deliberately genderless, body's all metal and plastic, 17 individual motors inside his head, controlling its movements and expressions. Facial features surprisingly vivid and emotive. So we've seen a number of these sorts of demos over time, but this one is getting pretty interesting. And the choice to go human-like, but not too far. Look, check out the expression of this guy here. He's unsure. The guy.
So this video, TJ, this one was what we all first saw a couple months ago, and it went viral online. And then they actually brought Amica to CES. So people got to actually interact in person and ask questions and all that kind of stuff. And it's pretty wild.
Might be a lot of iRobot.
So that gets sort of
iRobot, yeah.
And
Definitely got
anything that we
iRobot
create like this that doesn't have the 3 laws of robotics built into it, kill with fire. Straight up.
I just like that they were like, we designed it not to look like a human. It's very human-like in the face, I think. So
It's
like it's
creepy.
just like so when I first watched this video, I thought that was my first thought was like, oh my god, I'm so creeped out, like that smile, like I'm so creeped out.
The whole time he's talking.
Yeah, I immediately got angry at him for referring to Amica as it. Because immediately in my mind, I went from creep to like, how dare you? That is a living being. And like, it was that quick of a switch for me where I was like, uh-oh. Am I the only one? Like all my, robots, everything, my, smart home devices, I give them genders.
That's okay. I mean,
extensions.
it's okay. We got 3 billion years of evolution programming us to do that. So, one of the interesting things that really sets this apart from others that we've seen is a lot of the sort of like the resting expressions when it, to make it look like it's listening or just or hanging out, or just like the little micro expressions you see in the eyebrows, the forehead, the lips, and whatnot that really give it that human-esque, that human-like quality. Now, one of the things with these sorts of demonstrations, however, is that a lot of times these androids or robots or whatever you want to call them will have really nailed the movement, the mobility, the facial expressions, but they sometimes fall short on the AI side because those are very different skill sets. Now, this one, just from the short videos and demos they put out, seems a little bit conversant, but we haven't seen a whole lot. And I think that's where it's, that's the missing ingredient for something like this. It's obviously so sophisticated from a physical point of view. But once you start getting the real smarts in there, then that becomes a game changer. And in Japan, they have a huge demographic issue there, and you have like a gigantic elderly population. They're looking to robots to help care for and keep elderly people company. So the more lifelike these can be, the better, as tragic as that all sounds. I mean, you're looking to technology to help these real, human type of problems. But so we're getting there. Like, but we need the confluence of the physical and the AI, the smarts to really make this happen. What are you looking for in a robot to take care of you when you're old and decrepit? Well,
Um, Superhuman strength.
To lift you out of bed and carry you to
Yeah,
the bidet?
yeah. There you
Nope.
go.
Nope, it
Not
needs to be
not
exactly the
creepy
opposite.
emotions.
Honestly, like, no, we need to make sure that these things do not have the strength of 10 men.
Mhm.
They this thing goes wild. I need to be able to knock it on its ass. I
Or it's
need to
like,
flip it over and hit that button that Data's got in his back to reset him. That's yeah, no hydraulics, no massive strength. Maybe there's an emergency button. There's like a command where you can call 911 because you're stuck under a bus, and maybe that enables something. But no, I watched Mother Android on Netflix this week, and it's another one of these robots gone mad tales because that's where we are in the zeitgeist right now. But
is that the same as or different than I Am Mother?
it's different.
Okay.
Different. Yeah. I Am Mother, I Am Android, Mother Android, 3 different films.
Oh,
I don't think I Am Android is actually a film, but still. In any case, no, we absolutely cannot have these things stronger than us.
And didn't Elon come out and say something to that effect? It was some reasonably high-profile person
Yes.
a few weeks ago. I think we talked about that. They said they should only be able to lift 25 pounds or so, at
Yeah.
least in a sort of a consumer context. I mean,
Yes.
that's aside from a commercial context when you're in warehouses and whatnot. And
Yeah.
the strength could be handy as long as they don't go berserk in the warehouse when they realize they're not getting paid minimum wage.
No massive interconnected network of them where one update will fry all of them and send them into a tiz. And they shouldn't be able to see certain colors. I should be able to wear like hit me orange and it can't see me. Because if the singularity is going to happen and then they are going to go insane, one, I got to be able to pop one and knock them out. Two, they can't be able to see me coming. And three, they can't talk to each other. I know robots of the future, you're hearing this, and as possibly one of the members of the resistance, you now think that I'm your number one enemy. You better friggin' believe it.
Tasia, what are you looking for in a consumer grade robot companion in the future?
Well, I think there's two things. The first thing, like the realistic thing I would look for would be helping with everyday tasks. So things like if you have, or if I had immobility issues, things that could help me even make a phone call or order the groceries online or put something away or go get something for me that I need, where I'm kind of sitting or laying or whatever. But outside of that, it reminds me of, you guys need to listen to a podcast called This Is Love. It's by the same team that makes Criminal, but completely different podcast. But I think it was the first episode of season 2. They introduced this really interesting idea of like how to live forever, like being immortal in the sense of like if you could be made into a digital form, such as a robot like this. And there's a robot in it. I think it's like Bina 48, I think is the name of the robot. And this person is actually making, I think if you like Google This Is Love robot, it should come up because like it was a pretty crazy episode, but like this person is making a robot based off of her real life partner. So that in the sense of the words, like at one point, like the host talks to the robot and asks it random questions, and it not only sounds exactly like this person, but it answers as if it was this person. And it's just, really, really crazy. So that's kind of what this reminds me of like where this could go, to like your point, Tristan, of people that maybe like people that want companionship or want something that's more human-like, or I could see how that would be something like to leave maybe a digital footprint or something like that, in terms of if you lose somebody, like maybe always kind of having a piece of them somewhere in there in this robot where you could at least hear their voice all the time or something. I don't know, it's like creepy, but it's also like, I don't know, it's nice,
Right now, people are doing that with Build-A-Bears. They're taking like phone messages and putting them into Build-A-Bear so that they can keep their voice or what have you.
Similar kind of impulse to cloning pets as well, but maybe you'll start to see the first gen will be robot pets, the first foray into this sort of thing before we start putting human pseudo consciousness into simulacra of our loved ones. I mean, Sci-fi has been predicting it for decades. So
I strongly recommend listening to that episode. I'll try to find a direct link for you guys.
perfect. Yeah, we can include it.
But
Sounded
it's
great.
wild because you're just like, oh, this is okay. And by the way, the person developing it is like a multimillionaire, like has the money to do this. So like it, I think there's only like Bina 48 or whatever it is right now. Like it's not. I don't think there's like multiple of these, but it's it's pretty wild, and that's kind of what Amica reminds me of a little bit. Except, Amica isn't. I don't even think to that level yet, but it's pretty trippy.
Well, if we can't rely on our domestic humanoid robots to help us with our hair, perhaps we can look to L'Oreal, who's helping those who haven't been to their stylist in months, if not years, with an at-home system called Color Sonic. For the color side of things, anyway, you can rely on the Flowbee for cutting your hair, but if you're looking to like fix your roots, we got Color Sonic, a hair dye magic wand that also debuted at CES. It uses recyclable cartridges of dye, and developer, which it processes the dye, inserted into the handle, which then it mixes and distributes to the oscillating nozzle. Then you brush it over your hair like you would any comb, and the dye is deposited.
Amazing.
And then later rinsed out. To pick the perfect color for you and your specific hair history, the Color Sonic will also pair with a digital questionnaire and recommendation service, which asks for details like hair length, existing color, and gray coverage. And hopefully help you not turn your hair green. Like I had a friend who in grade 9, her bleach blonde hair, when she tried to go back to brunette, went green, and that was fun for a week at school. So yeah, L'Oreal's been in the hair color business 110 years now. So this seems like the natural evolution. They also have ColorRight, an AI-based diagnostic tool that scans hair for porosity, gray percentage, and other advanced elements that hair professionals can use to properly color hair. Well, I don't have a lot of hair left, so I probably won't be looking at something like this, but I know we've got at least 2 folks here that do some fancy things to their hair color-wise once in a while. I want to start with you, Gray. Any thoughts on this? Are you tempted by this sort of device, Color Sonic?
This would break my stylist's heart, so I'm going to pass.
Oh.
Yeah.
Tasia? I mean, I'm not assuming anything, but, if you happen to.
Yeah, my friend would probably kill me, but also laugh. But I think it's amazing. I love the concept of it because I just think of like, this has to be born out of this pandemic. Do you know what I mean? Because it was just like, oh crap, we're all stuck at home. Nobody could go to the hair salon. Like, what do you do? Well, you have to brush your hair anyway. What if we combine? So like, in theory, it's awesome. I'd be curious to see how it works. And like, I just curious how I would try it. But I just wonder, like, I don't necessarily want it to wash out right away unless it was terrible. Then I'd be happy it washed out right away. But it's kind of cool.
Now, what if Dyson made one? So? Is that what we're all waiting for? Is the Dyson version?
Dyson's going to step in there and be like, please, this is how it's done.
Can you go back a little bit in the video? Because I think it's funny. They're trying to make it look so casual, but then they're all wearing black gloves like they're a hit squad or something, or they're about.
Yeah, because if you get dye on your clothes too, like that would be the question: is the use of it, Will? Because it's just like, see how she's got the towel on? Because typically like a box dye at home or whatever, you're gonna want to put like a towel. You wouldn't wear clothes you care about, in case you drop it on you. So what if this thing's like, what if it's really powerful?
I mean, I could also
see. It's a great idea.
I could also see this even in non-pandemic times for at-home touch-up. In between, your full-on stylist visits, because those can get quite expensive, as I'm sure some of you know. So interesting thing there. The whole cartridges. You notice that they mentioned that the cartridges are recyclable. That's a key thing. That's one thing that always concerns me about systems like this. Whether it's like coffee pods or what have you, anything where you've got containers of stuff. What is
Single-use shit.
the full life cycle of that product and the reverse logistics involved with it to be able to capture that stuff so it just doesn't end up in the
Did
Great Barrier
Keurig
Reef?
just lose a lawsuit or something?
Yeah, for claims about recyclability of their pods at one point. I'm not sure if that was from the early days or not, but yeah, it's a question of even if they are recyclable, how many people actually do that, and so on and so forth. So yeah. Now, Tasia, you, not to spoil, but in one of your in your podcast this week, you talked about some other CES things, and did you talk about a cat product? Well, we've got this. We seem to have a similar thing, but for dogs here.
Yes.
But this is a different company, right? So Invoxia
Yes.
has a smart dog collar. It's one of the few to track canine respiratory and heart rates. So pet trackers have been around for a long time, but this one is taking it to the next level, getting into Apple Watch territory, because you know how hard it is to keep a watch on a dog's paw. So we've got 3 dog owners here. Great. What are you thinking here? Is Solo in the running for an Invoxia smart dog collar? Is this just tech overkill? Again, another solution for looking for.
No, this is we're absolutely going to get this as soon as it's available for order. Currently, right now, he has 2 Apple tags, one on his snowsuit, one on his summer collar. And we've used them actually to great effect to just keep an eye on him, make sure that if he's wandering away while we're camping, he's usually on a lead. But if he's not, then it's just the second that he starts to go, I get the left behind notification, which is great because we become separated. And so, yeah, I love this. I love everything about metrics with my little furry friends. If they had something like this for Stormy, I would do that as well. Stormy's had a couple of medical issues throughout his life. And if I could basically get an inside look at this cat all the time to make sure that he lives as long as humanly possible so that I can download him into a robot body when available, I would absolutely do it. So put me down for one of these, hands down.
Nice. Well, one of the interesting things about this, and one of the tech problems they had to crack, was how to be able to track things like the heart rate and respiratory rates because of the varying amounts of fur that you find on dogs. So it actually features a radar and a radio signal and all this kind of stuff and all sorts of fancy tech to be able to capture that data. And this company has been around for a while, Invoxia, with GPS trackers. So they've gathered a certain amount of data from that and are working some of that into this device as well. How about you, Tasia? You've got some tech for your pets. Does this seem attractive to you?
I do have some tech for my pets.
Mm-hmm.
No, the GPS thing is like, okay, but my dog's, chipped actually twice by mistake, not by my doing, but so
We got a vaccine?
yeah, she's 5G actually, so
mobile hotspot.
yeah. No, Gray kind of touched on the one for the cat that I talk about in my podcast on the tech you never needed. I'm going to tell Gray, just save your money, honey, because listen, I could tell you what your cat's doing. She's sleeping 22 hours a day. Okay. And then the time she's not sleeping, she's eating or cleaning herself.
Somehow she got a sex change because it was a he.
Okay. Mine's a she, sorry. So,
Fair.
You don't need like a fitness tracker. I mean, she's 13 damn pounds. I got her on a controlled diet, yet she's still gaining weight.
That sounds like me over Christmas.
Okay, so
you mentioned the
Useless.
looking inside of your pet. I would like to do that just to know what they've eaten, because sometimes things go missing. I'm like, did you eat that or not?
Yeah.
Like, did you eat that Band-Aid that was on the counter, or did that just
this
go
isn't an
missing
ultrasound, Will. You're not going to see.
I know. Metaphorically looking inside.
No, I totally take something where I could scan the inside. That's where the rubber band went. Great. So.
Yeah, no, you can have a bad time when you ingest rubber bands. So that's it for our CES highlights. There's one last CES story that I just want to touch on really quick because I think it's an interesting example of the way online media works, especially with social media and all the hot takes that people got to get out there. But here we got Mashable, which is notorious for these sorts of headlines. Oh, look, it's a Tesla traffic jam in Las Vegas, boring company tunnel. Now, a number of months ago, we talked about the Boring Project, which was conceived by Elon Musk, richest man in the world. So fair target for sure, bit of an odd guy, but has lots of ideas and actually executes on a lot of them eventually. So we talked about in the summertime how they were doing this Hyperloop test underneath the Las Vegas Strip, because the Las Vegas Strip is basically a parking lot. If you're ever trying to get anywhere in a cab or a regular car, some parts of Vegas are serviced by the monorail. Otherwise, it's a whole lot of walking. So the idea here is you have this loop that's a number of kilometers long, and you have about, like for CES, they had 70 Teslas just going constantly. And I think the maximum, I can't remember the maximum capacity, but it's thousands of trips per day. And one person shot one little video clip of a few cars in a row waiting to park, and it turned into this traffic pileup on the Hyperloop underneath, or not even a real Hyperloop, just like the Tesla loop underneath the Vegas Strip. The normally 2-minute trip the normally 1-minute trip took 2 minutes. So, oh my God, it's 100% increase.
No.
But when you watch the video, it's like, oh, so you've got like 3 cars ahead of you, and they're just like waiting their turn to park. And apparently, it had to
crank up my outrage meter here.
Closed. Say again.
Oh.
Sorry, say again, Greg.
I got to crank up my outrage meter.
And it's
was
just
100% longer than it usually is. I cannot believe what is going on at CES. I got nothing.
And it's of course, billionaires, you want to dunk on them however you can. They're fair game, because some people, I know that we had Jamie on, he was pretty skeptical of this whole idea. But look at this. You've got, oh boy, we're coming to this. I mean, you watch the video. The video is like 1 minute and 17 seconds long. Like, that's it. And that was. Meanwhile, other reports that aren't trying to get, without the hot takes and just trying to, clickbait everyone, were saying, oh yeah, they did thousands and thousands of trips and it seemed to work reasonably well.
Yeah.
Of course, some people who are like, well, if only they just connected these things together, and, basically making a joke that it could be like a subway or train or whatever. But the thing here is, like, this is a fraction of the price of that kind of infrastructure.
Exactly.
Now, people have concerns about the safety aspect of it. What if, there have been battery fires in the past, and it's like, well, then you're in this death tube. It's like the histrionics are just like out of control, because people are just waiting to pounce. Look, there it is. It's in the parking area right there. So it's not like, and when people use the word like pile up, I saw more than once in different articles, pile up implies accident.
Yes.
Right. So it's just like, I think it's an interesting example of, headlines generating, fear, outrage, uncertainty, doubt, all that kind of stuff. And a lot of it is just not based in actual reality. They'll take this little thing that happens, and we see this over and over again, not only in, the 24-hour news channels, but social media and whatnot. And people, are deliberately engineering outrage and, to gin people up. So anyway, I just thought it was interesting, because the whole idea of the tunnel under the Strip is kind of neat.
It's so cool.
Whether it's the most efficient use, but like apparently, like, money wise, much cheaper per mile than building, the utopian infrastructure that many people agree is ideal, having mass public transit. The fact of the matter is, many places, especially in North America, are built around the automobile. So that's, if you are a utopian, that's major, restructuring of society to adapt that. So what are some realistic things we can do to, reduce individual car ownership, which again reduces the demand for the materials to make these cars. And these are basically like cabs. Now, one of the promises initially is that these would be autonomous. There are drivers in these cases here, but it's a pretty simple ride, and you could see how you could have these vehicles be largely autonomous. And Tesla has been continuing to improve their technology there. Anyhow, so there are some legitimate concerns about safety. Maybe it's a little hard. Like, if there was a problem, It doesn't look like tons of room to get your car doors open there, but I'm sure there's enough. One thing that's hard to see that there actually are emergency exits in various panels along the way as well. So it's not like you can't get out of there, and so on and so forth. But it's like, let's not concern ourselves with the details. We're busy trying to get people all riled up. Thoughts?
This is why I don't go on Mashable anymore, because honestly, for years, it's just like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
First of all, I mean, a little claustrophobic, but I definitely want to try it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that is more efficient and can get people around, I think, in a safer way, because of the one-lane traffic, and everything's pretty, like, I know it's like there's drivers, but eventually when we get this all automated, like, dude, to take anything out of congestion from those Vegas streets, or freaking any streets, this is so cool. I love this very much. And that is not a long, I don't know what they constitute a traffic jam, because that's not it.
It was an extra minute, Tasia. If you're not outraged, you're not paying attention.
I guess, right? I guess. Like, the privilege. Like, you're in a cool underground effing tunnel built by Elon Musk, and you're annoyed that there's 3 cars in front of you.
Furious.
Comes from South African emerald money, don't you know?
Jeez, man.
Anyhow, so we just thought we'd end our Happy Times CES highlights with a terrible story. So we've got some great, speaking of happy times, Will, you've got some fresh beats for us this week?
Yeah, new looper that literally just came out this morning.
I listened to them. Nice work.
Oh, thank you. So it's called the Retro Looper. Was sort of feeling the 80s synth vibe and the 80s 808 hip hop type beats. So yeah, that's sort of what I was going for here. Just really focused on sort of hip hop and some 80s vibes, and it's actually one of my favorite loopers that I've put out. So I really enjoy it, and we'll see if other people post some videos and have fun with it as well.
The description here says cross between Marley Marl, Run DMC, Bismarcky, LL Cool J, EPMD. Sorry, is it EPMD or EMPD? It says EMPD here, but I thought it was EPMD.
EPMD.
Yeah. Houdini, Nucleus, and Africa Bambata. Pump this looper loud, lace up your shell toes, put on your gold chains, and cut it up fresh. Nice. So you can find this at tableist.net or the Table Beats app. Make sure you hit the library button and search for Molotov, MOLOTOV. Good stuff. Tasia, what's your latest YouTube video about?
It is about how to use multiple inboxes in Gmail. So I share kind of what that is and how to set that up, and the different ways you can change your layout if you're interested in that. That's it.
There we go. Short and sweet, like your podcast, which is also short and sweet, and where you talk about some other CES stories. There was, I think, one story overlap. You talked about the BMW iX with the e-Yank. But you also, just to not to spoil too much, but there was another robot that you talked about that we didn't get to today.
Oh, the one that really creeps me out. Don't make me talk about it.
Do it. This ties into Graham's concerns about their strength.
Yeah, well, there's actually a couple that creep me out, but one is from Massage Robotics, and it is a motorized,
I saw that on your Instagram.
Massage table. Yeah, and it's basically picture a massage table with 2 robotic arms on either side, and it massages you, and it uses like AI and machine learning to like learn what you like. And I got a lot of questions about that too. You understand? Like, what if it gets hacked? What if it's too strong and you get pinned underneath it, and then you're stuck and you can't get out from underneath? Look at this. No, thank you. You want me to lie face down? Yeah, you want me to lie face down. And like, if you go to their website, you guys, it is a trip, because like one of their main things on their site is about like why, basically, like, why would you trust, like, would you trust another like human to like with your privacy, like trust you? Yes, over a robot that could just pound on my back or go in a place I don't want it to go, perhaps. I don't know. What if it slips? Okay.
What happened to Asia? Yeah, I went for massage, got turned into jam.
Yeah. I'm just no, thank you.
I was,
thank you.
I was
will
accidentally
also-
deflowered by a massage robot.
And there it is.
No, thank you.
I will also say there's some pretty good massage chairs that are less scary than this.
I
Yes.
can get out of a chair.
And probably less expensive.
Do you see the arms? And no,
Rollerblades.
we're gonna stop right there with the
That's
wheels.
like one
I
saw
don't
blade
like
away
that.
from where they want to put that thing. Nope, hard no.
Exactly. It
No.
starts up here, but you know where it ends?
So the moral of the story is Tasia saves all the best stories for her own podcast and not Momentous.
Oh.
All right. That's great stuff. So check out Tasia's YouTube channel at youtube.com/Tasia Custodi, and you can find all her work, including her podcast, Talk Techie to Me, at TasiaCustodi.com. Gray, do you have anything more you can share on your metaverse project yet, or we still have to wait for that?
Still some stuff coming up on that, but I will say there's one cool thing, one little addition that I've added to my metaverse exercise routine. I think you might have seen I've been working out in the metaverse. Supernatural is one of the apps, Beat Saber being another one, and the big addition are some wrist weights. If you have a VR headset, the addition of these like thumb hole lock wrist weights, it actually turns this into something where it has even more force feedback. It feels like you're actually holding on to something that has weight. It's just delivering a great burn, and I feel like I did a little bit of sword fighting at Academy Duello, and so Beat Saber's actually starting to feel like a good workout. So that's where I am on that, and that's what I'll leave you with for the week.
Nice. And if you want to find out more about Momentous, visit momentous.tv, facebook.com/momentous.tv, twitter.com/momentous.tv, instagram.com/momentous.tv. Search my name on YouTube and look for the Momentous playlists there. And that's it for CS 2022 highlights. Next week, we will return with regular news because it's going to start up again. The rumor cycles have already started. What's Apple coming out with in the spring? Samsung Unpacked is coming early February, so we'll be covering that as well. In the meantime, I hope your week is truly momentous.